once we now have those letters, everybody, we will then take these letters, we'll go one by one. You will have one, to learn what the letter looks like. Two, Reb Mordechai has found a wonderful program where you can practice writing the letters. There's a right way to write in Hebrew, just like there's a right way to write in English. Where the letters from? Where do you start in the letter to make it the easiest? It's not just anything. Everybody has their own particular habits of way they do things.
It's good to look here,
right? Everybody has their own way of writing, right? Their own little things, but this way will show you the classic way of writing the letter. We'll have to know how to write the letter. We have to know what the letter looks like, and we're going to have to know the sound of the letter, the name of the letter. The sound of the letter, by the way, is not going to come into existence until we get the vowels, just like in English. That's all I can speak from. A, E, I, O, and U. You don't have a sound of any letter. You have a name of a letter. A W is a W, but if you don't have an A, E, I, O, and U with it, guess what? You don't have a sound. How are you going to say a W? You can say W. That's the name of the letter. What does the letter sound like? Is it Y? Is it we? Is it Y? You only know that when you have the vowel. The same thing in Hebrew. The vowels have to be learned along with the letters. But first, let's learn to identify the letters by their name. Right? And then we'll go along to making them into sounds. Each letter has a particular sound of what it sounds like in the English language, but you're going to need a vowel to make it to have its sound in its fullness. So we'll start off, for instance, with the letter Aleph. Aleph is silent. And by the way, I can tell you, do we have it loaded, by the way? I'm just asking you because I want to know my Aleph bass song.
Yes, it's...
yeah.
I posted it.
So we should know, we have the Aleph bass song by Reb Shalom Gold. It was years ago, I was sitting on the roof of my house here in Jerusalem in the Old City with my children and Reb Fischel Todd and some friends. And I like to play guitar. And Reb Fischel said, why don't you write a song with the Aleph bass? So I sat around with my children and all my grandchildren. And we sat up on the roof and we partied together and we wrote the Aleph bass song. That's available for you to hear in a song in a pleasant form, right, to hear the letters pronounced properly, to see what they look like and what they sound like and what their name is, right? So we're starting off now with the letter Aleph. Aleph is a silent letter. It has no sound. Whatever vowel it's connected to will give it its sound, but it's silent. And symbolically, as a little side point, why is the Aleph silent? Why should I have a silent letter? Because before the creation of the physical world, which is base, the letter base, the next letter means a house. Everything comes out of a house. Everything has to have a place where you can compartmentalize it, where you can give it a place to live. Before the world existed, what's the main house we have is the planet Earth in the universe. That's a house. Before that existed, there was a world of the spiritual that didn't have a house like we know it. It wasn't physicality. Aleph represents that world. Aleph is the letter of God's name in one letter. Why? We're going to see when it comes to the letters in the Hebrew alphabet, each one of them has a numerical value. Starting at 1, and we'll see how they go 1 through 10, 10 through 100, and 100 through 400, and another system 100 through 900. We're going to see that. I'm not going to confuse you now. But the Aleph is made up of a Vav, which has a numerical value of 6, a Yud, which has a numerical value of 10 on top, and a Yud on the bottom. A line through the middle, a foot on top and a foot on bottom, both with a numerical value of 10. If you add together Yud, Yud, and Vav, the numerical value of the letter Aleph, which is 1, because it's the first letter of the alphabet, the letters, the parts of the Yud are made up of a Vav and 2 Yuds. That equals 26, which is the name of God that is spelled out, the Jewish God, the one God in the world, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. Those are the letters of God's names. We'll be talking about them a lot in detail later on in the course. Those letters, right, spell out 26. And the letter Aleph itself, with the Vav and 2 Yud, spells out 26. So the letter symbolically represents God. Why is it silent? Because it's before the creation of the world. It's representing a world between the world of the infinite God that doesn't have any existence for us as we know it. There's infinite existence there, but we can't experience it. It's infinite. We're finite. God's infinite. We can't experience that. We don't understand these things. They're very mysterious. But once that infinite started coming into the world, before it started taking shape and before it started taking form, it was the olive. There was something there. It was spiritual. It was ethereal. But it wasn't physical yet. And that's what the letter olive represents. Therefore, the olive has no sound. And the God, creator of the world, made this alphabet. Don't forget, this world was created with this alphabet. Nothing else. This is the alphabet that existed from the beginning of time. These are the letters that we use to form the world. These are the letters that we used in the beginning of creation to make substance, to make matter, to give it name, to give it identity, personality. And the olive was the first thing to say there was something beyond and above, let's not say beyond, but above the physical world that gave us our existence, that gave us our spirit. The soul of the world is contained in the letter olive. And therefore it's a silent letter. And it will only have sound according to what vowel is with it. So our first thing we want to do, we can do this a number of ways. You have to find your own comfort level on this. Some people might want to do one letter at a time and then go back, right, and review that and take another letter. Other people might want to learn the whole alphabet in order like you did A, B, C, D. So for Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, the same thing. Right? Do it all. Get the sound. Get like the song is Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, like you see on the internet. Learn it like that, and then go back and work with one letter at a time. You'll have to find your own way. Everybody thinks differently. Not everybody has the same thinking and logical methods available to them. Everybody has their own unique self. We're all special. We're all unique. We're all given a tremendous gift. How we express it, we have to discover that for ourselves. I would like to suggest today to start off. Right, this is introductory. We're working out the pieces to make it so it's really professional and make it as easy as possible for you. Our goal right now is to make you and allow you to be a reader of the Hebrew alphabet and the vowels and to be able to put words together, putting the sounds together and the formations of the word to form an understandable word for vocabulary reasons and for pronunciation reasons. And I would like to start today by just look at your chart and follow with me. And we see the following. We have an olive. That's the first letter. Then we have a beis. Now, beis, sometimes a beis has a dot in it, and sometimes it doesn't have a dot in it. It does not change the meaning of the letter. With a dot, it's pronounced like a B, beis, and that's the name of the letter. Without a dot, it's pronounced like vase, like a V. It doesn't have a dot. The letter is exactly the same. Whether it has a beis or a vase in terms of its meaning for translation purposes, the sound will be different. One will be B and the other one will be V. Okay? But they're both the same letter, just a different sound. The third letter of the Aleph base is Gimel. It sounds like a G. The next letter is a Dalet. A Dalet has the sound of a D, Dalet. The next letter is a Hey, and that has the sound of a H, in the English language. Then you have a Vav. It also sounds like a V. So you got a Vase and a Vav. They have different names. They have different numerical values. They're going to have different meanings and functions, but they're going to have the same sound. Next is a Zion. It sounds like a Z of the English language. Then you have a Chet. Now that's not a language letter that's very familiar to Western speakers. It's a CH sound, like in the word Hanukkah. Right? The holiday, the festival of lights, right? Has a Chet, Hanukkah. That's all I can say. There's no single English language letter that sounds that way. Then we have a Tet, and that has a sound of a T. Then we have the first section of letters ends with a Yud, and that has the sound of the English Y. Okay? Those now, just to bring it to you, we'll talk about this further as we go on. It's not essential for our reading. those have a numerical value. Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Daled, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud. Aleph is 1, Beis is 2, Gimel is 3, Daled is 4, Hey is 5, Vav is 6, Zayin 7, Chet 8, Tet 9, and Yud is 10. We're going to find this extremely important when we get to learning Hebrew text. There's a thing called gematria, which means the numerical value of the letters in the word. Give it a composite number, which is very significant in telling us about that word and its function in the universe. But we will not get to that now, but it would be nice. As you're learning, you might as well learn the numerical values also. It's not hard. Aleph through Yud, 1 through 10. Yud being 10 after the Yud becomes a Kaf. That also has two forms. It has with a dot, it has a K sound or a C sound, Kaf, cat. Without it, it has a CH sound like the Chet, Chochavim. It's a CH, it's not a K or a C alone. And that's when the Kaf doesn't have a dot. So that's, after Yud is a Kaf, that's a 20. So the first system we went, very interesting for people who are mathematicians, the first 10 went from 1 to 10. Now we're going to go from 10 to 100. Instead of going from 1 to 2, like Aleph from Beis, right, Yud goes to Kaf. 10 goes to 20. Kaf is followed by a Lamed. It has the sound of the English L, Lamed. And it's the only letter in the Hebrew alphabet that goes up into the sky. It goes above all the other letters. It has a crown on it. That's the letter Lamed. Lamed is followed by the letter Mem. Mem has the sound of an M in the English language. Mem and it has a numerical value of 40. Mem is followed by a Nun. Nun sounds like an N in English, and it has a numerical value of 50. After the Nun comes a letter that looks like a plain old circle, and that's called the Samech. And it has the sound of an S, and it has a numerical value of 60. Ayin is another silent letter for all intents and purposes in our generation. Ayin is not silent. The mystical texts tell us that ayin had a sound to it. And it makes sense. Aleph, which came from the other world of spirit. Ayin, which is means also every letter has a meaning itself. Ayin is the word for eye. Ayin has a numerical value of 70. We will pronounce it as if it's silent, just like the Aleph, but just should know in mystical texts in higher levels, ayin does have a sound, and the Tamani, the people from Yemen, have in their tradition a sound for it. Where the people of Europe and North Africa and do not have a sound for it, we use it as being silent. But the Yemenites pronounce the ayin. We will not be using that because most of the world use it as a silent letter like Aleph, but it's not. And it has a numerical value of 70. After the ayin comes the pei and the fei, again a double letter. If it has a dot, it sounds like P, and if it doesn't have a dot, it sounds like an F. Pei and fei. Numerical value of 80. Looks the same, difference would be a dot in the middle. After the pei and the fei, we have the letter, tzadi. Tzadi has a TZ sound, tzadi. And it has a numerical value of 90. And then after the tzadi, we have a kuf. And kuf, by the way, happens to be the word for monkey. If you look at the kuf, it has a round thing like a body. It has a straight line like a tail of a monkey hanging down from the branch that's sitting in the tree, and its tail is hanging down. It has a numerical value of 100. So now we have the second part. Second part, Yud was 10, Kaf was 20, Lamed was 30, Mem was 40, Nun was 50, Ayin was 60, Samek was 60, Ayin was 70, Pei was 80, Tzadi was 90, and Kuf was 100. Kuf now starts the third sequence. Now our numerical system goes in hundreds. It was ones, single digits, double digits, 10 to 100, 10 to 90, and then 100. Now 100 to 400. Kuf, we said already, was 100. Reish sounds like an English R. Oh, Kuf sounds like a K. So Kuf and Kaf, Kuf, the K and the Kaf, the Kuf and the Kaf, that's one of the big things that people mix up. I just mixed it up. Kuf is 100, it's pronounced as it's a Kuf, and Kaf is also the same sound as the value of 20. One looks like a C, and the other one looks like a monkey sitting on a branch with his tail hanging down. Resh is an R, and it has a numerical value of 200, and it's it's the letter that represents the head. Then finally, the next to last letter of the alphabet is Shin. Now, Shin has two forms. When the Shin, if you're looking at it, has 3 crowns on it, 3 lines going up off a straight bottom. When the dot is on the right side of the letter, there's a dot in the upper right-hand corner, it's pronounced SH, Shin. When the dot is on the left-hand tripod of the left hand of the crown sticking up on the left one, then the dot makes it into a Sin, an S sound. So Shin and Sin are both with a value of 300, depending on whether your dot on top of the crown is on the right or the left. And finally, the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet, just like the previous ones we talked about, has 2 sounds. The value is 400. It's called Taf and Saf. If it has a dot in it, it has a sound of a T. And if it doesn't have a dot in it, it has a sound of an S. Just like Sin and like Samach. So you got 3 letters that have sounds of S's. We'll see that as we're going along, there are letters that have similar sounds. So now what we have is we have the whole alphabet from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, and 100 to 400. And we have the letter sounds by themselves, what they're called. Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Daled, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, and Taf. Those are the letters. You have to start getting to work now to learn them. We will take on from this point, we'll start going into the letters more in detail and how to write them, right? And more into the details and the pronunciation of them. And that's our opening lesson for Aleph Beis and B'ezrat Hashem. Everybody, that means with the help of God, all of us watching here, and we're bringing our friends to do this, we will all learn how to speak and pronounce the Hebrew language perfectly. Because one of the secrets of Hebrew, in the proper pronunciation of the letters and the vowels, which means the proper pronunciation of the word, we will then have the ability to read Hebrew properly. And in Hebrew especially, the vibration of the letters and the vowels together, to be said properly, create a tidal wave through the whole universe. Because the Hebrew letters, again, the world was created with them. Imagine you created the world and then you pronounced it improperly with the letters, you wouldn't get what you're looking for. You have to have the proper pronunciation perfectly to able to recreate the thing that those letters represent. We're going to do that together. We're going to have a good time doing it. And before you know it, we're going to be into the whole Hebrew language of learning how to read and translate and be able to read Hebrew text. And most important, we're going to be able to pray in Hebrew, which is called Lashon HaKodesh, the holy language, to stimulate the voices and the angels in heaven to help us to get Hashem to hear our prayers and have all our prayers to be answered when they're proper. God bless you. Thanks for opening with me on this lesson. I look to spending a long, wonderful period of time with you, learning the sweetness and the great treat it is to speak and understand the Hebrew language. Shalom Aleichem from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, from the holy city. God bless you.